Hello and welcome to the Spirit of the Soul Show. It's Power Coach Alicia here. Today we're talking about how to stop making yourself small in order to keep the peace in your life. Now, I just want to let you know right off the bat that you are in the right place if you have been suppressing your emotions because you feel like if you speak up that it's going to create conflict. And instead, you're using your time to cry in the shower to release those emotions just to make it through the day. So again, if you find that you are not speaking up because you don't want to create conflict, but then when it just becomes too much pressure, too much to handle, that you're using your time in the shower to cry and release those emotions in order to reset and be able to make it through the day, then this session is for you. Now, I do have Crystal. Hey, girlfriend. Oh my gosh, I miss you so much. Okay, I do have an accompanying, holy fuck, podcast that goes along with this. And I'm going to just drop it in the comments because I think it's important to make sure that it's here. If you are not subscribed to the Soulfire podcast, you should go to soulfirepodcast.com. It is an amazing podcast. And like I said, everybody should be subscribed to it. It's fucking awesome. So here we go. The link to that is in the comments for the podcast episode. If you're watching this somewhere else and you don't see that link, I'm going to put it up on the screen. What the name of it is. And it is Season 2, Episode 10. All right. I just want to make sure that you guys have access to that. So today we're talking about stop making yourself small in order to keep the peace. If you want to dive deeper into this topic, you're going to go to soulfirepodcast.com. It is Season 2, Episode 10, Stop Idealizing Conflict. Or stop idealizing, it should say avoidance and normalizing conflict. I was typing fast. All right, so let's jump into today's session. I have an appointment right after this, but I want to make sure that I have the time to dive into this, okay? So parts of that podcast are going to be brought here because I think it's really important, but I first want to start out by sharing with you what I mean by stop making yourself small to keep the peace, right? So in relationships, in households, and all sorts of relationships, right? What ends up happening is that someone believes that they are the ones that has to give in or take the high road or edit or shrink down in order to keep the peace in those relationships, in the household, in the environment, at work, whatever it is, in order to be able to make it through it. And there's this belief system that if you speak up, if you step forward, if you say something, that it's going to create conflict, you're going to get fired, it's going to cause, a huge eruption or a derailment, it's going to end the friendship, it could cause a divorce, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Your kid did not talk to you, keep going down the line. And so what happens is you have this idea and you make this connection that you speaking up and using your voice is going to create that disconnection in the relationship. Yay, Crystal. I love that so much. But the truth is the avoidance, and I'm going to put this in the comments and I want you to shout this out in the comments as well. Avoidance creates disconnection. So put that in the comments for me. I also want to say, if you are live with me, I'd love if you would drop hashtag live party in the comments. If you're on replay, drop hashtag after party so that I know you're here. And also engage throughout this entire live, whether or not you're actually live with me or on replay, because you will remember more of what I say in the information here if you engage. So when I ask you to drop something in the comments, drop it in the comments. I want it to be part of what's embedded into your mind so that you get this information. Okay. So avoidance creates disconnection. So the more that you avoid, the more that the disconnection is strengthened, right? In your mind, you're thinking, if I just avoid that, if I don't say that, if I just walk away, if I just choose my battles, right? Like this isn't worth it. And those sorts of mentalities of not speaking your voice. Listen, inside of you, it's still impacting you, right? So it's the inside of you that is holding on to that because you weren't able to speak. So you think that by not saying anything, everyone wins because it doesn't create this argument, this conflict, and this disconnection. But the truth is, it's actually creating that disconnection because of how it makes you feel inside. You're basically saying to yourself that how you feel and what you need and what's going on isn't important, and that avoiding the conflict or, worrying about what other people think or what they feel or what they'll say is more important than you. And you end up suffering from this. And you may not suffer from it today or next month or maybe even next year. But what happens is the compound of these actions create the destruction of your soul. So that's the next thing that I want you to shout out in the comments is the compound, and we're going to edit this, of not speaking up creates the destruction of your soul. And I want you to put my soul instead of your soul. Okay. I'm going to put this up on the screen so you guys can see it. So the compound of not speaking up creates the destruction of your soul. Now you need to understand this. You are thinking it keeps the peace, that it promotes connection in the relationship, that it protects the relationship, that it protects everyone involved. And I'm telling you that it is the opposite. Now, you may not realize it immediately, but over time, you will find that shrinking down, editing yourself, and making yourself small is creating disconnection and disruption in those relationships. And over time, it leads to divorce, it leads to the end of the relationships, it leads to contentment, resentment, and all of those things that you believe you are avoiding by not speaking up. So I want to know, does this make sense to you? Is this connecting with you? Shout out yes in the comments if it is. If it is, doesn't make sense, if it's not connecting with you, then shout out any questions you have or what's going on in your mind right now as I'm bringing this stuff up. Now, I want to mention, and I want to make sure that there is no confusion with this. I am not saying that you have to speak up in an energy that creates conflict, okay? I'm not saying that you have to be aggressive or that you have to be mean or that you have to have that energy behind it. What I am saying is that it's imperative that you speak up, because if you don't, it makes you smaller and it kills your soul. It's the destruction of your soul, okay? And not only that, but when you say things to me like, it's okay because I just had a good cry in the shower this morning and I'm good to go, that's a red flag for me. When you believe that that gave you the release you need to be able to operate forward, because what it's doing is, it's giving you release because you're at like the top, right? You can't control it anymore. You can't shove it down anymore. You can't operate in spite of anymore. So you have that good cry, as women say, in the shower. And then, now you're renewed and you're ready to go. But the truth is, you're not renewed. It's just released some of that pressure so that you can operate forward, right? So I want you to think of a pressure cooker. They have these little flaps or something at the top of them that when it becomes too much pressure, it's like, psh, and it releases, right? That's all the cry is. So it's only just releasing a little bit of that pressure in order for it to continue to cook. Think of that inside. It's only releasing a little bit of that pressure inside of you, but it continues to boil. It continues to brew. It continues to manifest and destroy. Okay? So when you say things to yourself or to other people, choose your battles. Okay? We're going to just kind of not break this, but we're going to dispel this idea, this myth, this thought process, right? Choose your battles. Okay, here's the deal. I agree with this to a certain extent, but I feel like women take it way too fucking far. And I say women specifically because listen, if you bring a problem to a man, they hurt your feelings, they upset you, whatever, they will instantly respond with, usually, put that out there, well, you da-da-da-da-da. Like in that moment, they have no problem telling you your shit, right? And what you did, whether it was a week ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever. Men are really good at speaking how they feel off the back of you speaking up, because now here's the opportune time. It's so funny to me. But something that's really important is it's not about choosing your battles. It's about always expressing how you feel in a respectful way. There is nothing that I believe you don't bring up. Now, the choosing your battle is different. You should be expressing everything that you need, how you feel, how it impacted you, the good, the bad, the amazing, the ugly. All of those things should be expressed. Now, where I believe choose your battle comes in is an at all costs. Like, I am not willing to budge on this at all. I am not willing to step back from this at all. And so what you're saying is if it's not going to be received, or if the other person isn't willing to hear me out, if the other person isn't willing to understand me, I'm still going to stand my ground and I am not going to give in. That to me is what choose your battles means. But women use it as choose whether or not to say something. Two different things. A battle is something that you're willing to fight for to the end because it's a boundary. It hurts your feelings. It destroys your soul. And you're not willing to make yourself small or step back or take the high road with how you feel. That is completely different than always expressing what you need, what you want, what lights you up, what disconnects you. Those should always be expressed. Those are not battles. And the truth is, even if you're standing in your power with something that is extremely important to you, it doesn't have to be a battle. Crystal, explain to me what you mean by that. Would what be gaslighting? Tell me, when you express what you need and then the partner, the man, the whatever, usually it's the partner. I mean, I think it's really a nature of what anybody does, right? You mean like, and then they come back and say, well, you da 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 da. I wouldn't say that is gaslighting. What I'd actually say that is dismissing your feelings, diminishing your feelings, and ignoring your feelings. Gaslighting is more like you feel a way and then the person comes back and they almost twist the way that you feel and make it, they say it in a way that would be a truth for you, but it's not a truth for you. Does that make sense? So gaslighting is almost a manipulation and twisting of the words to reframe it in a way that is pressing upon a truth on you that isn't an actual truth for you. Haha, that's how I explain. I know that's a little fucking complicated, but there you go. So in choosing your battles, it's not about whether or not you speak up. It's about whether or not of how hard you're going to stand in your place, and you're not willing to budge. You're not willing to shrink down. You're not willing to step back. And listen, you can also speak up, share your feelings, what you need, what you want, where you're going, all the things what lights up your soul, what doesn't, what disconnects you, without shrinking down, stepping back. And you can still take what most people would deem the high road. So I talk about this all the time. I've been teaching it for, I don't know, August, September, October, November, December, January, about 5 months. And it's my AUA process. We talk about this all the time and how many moments that AUA is necessary for communication and completeness of a conversation where two people come to a common ground and an understanding of where each other's coming from without right or wrong, without agree or disagree, without the good or bad, without finger pointing, without blame. Okay. It's literally, if we can just let go of the old ways of communicating and step forward into that, this isn't about me convincing you to agree with me or to believe what I believe or to see what I see or to feel what I feel. But instead, this is about me and you coming to a common space of you understanding how your words, your actions impact me and what I need from you going forward, or how your words and actions impacted me, whether or not you meant it, whether or not you understand it, whether or not you realize you did it. If you go back and listen to my session, not last week, but the week before, you'll see that I talk all about like ignorance is not, hi girlfriend, how do I say your name? Miaza? It can't be Misa. Is it Misa? Tell me how to say your name. I want to make sure I say it right. It's not like, this is another thing that people will use, right? And that's what I talk about in that session, is that ignorance does not give you an excuse to dismiss or diminish my feelings. Oh, I didn't realize, or I didn't understand, right? I don't give a shit. That does not matter. Whether you realized it or you understand, your words or your actions still impacted me the way that I am impacted. I am still feeling the way that I feel. You can spend the next 45 minutes explaining yourself away, and it's still not going to change the way I feel, even if I understand why you did what you did, where you were coming from. It doesn't change my feelings. And what it also doesn't do is stop this from happening again in the future. That's another problem that happens, right? Where you express how you feel and then the other person explains it away makes the excuses. Oh, I didn't realize. They bring the ignorance, right? And you have this conversation that ends up being about their justification to their words or actions to how you feel. You get to the end of the conversation, there's this weird non-completeness, but I guess we're okay. And we move forward, and then it happens again and again and again and again and again and again. And you're frustrated. Like, why the fuck does this keep happening? Why the fuck is this still a conversation? Why the fuck is this an issue? Why? Because there was never an understanding. The entire conversation became about the person diminishing, disregarding, right? Making it not a big deal, explaining themselves away, and you accepted that. In my world, that's not how it works. I do not accept that. I do not allow it to be that way. I don't give a fuck who it is. I don't care if it's my kids, my mom, my husband. It doesn't matter. The way it works, hey, Joanne, the way it works in my world is this. If I bring you the issue, your job is to understand how I feel. The way you understand is ask questions, okay? First of all, there's that validation. Whether or not you agree, I don't give a fuck. Validate that my feelings are real regardless of you, your actions, your words. I need that validation because it's important. To me, that's a respect thing, okay? Secondarily, make sure you completely understand me and where I'm coming from and how this impacted me without you involved. I don't want to hear your stories. I don't want to hear your reasons, right? And I'm going to come back into stop making yourself small to keep the peace, but I need you to understand this concept. I brought the issue, so your job is to understand and validate me and then make the decision if you're going to make any, changes or steps going forward. You don't have to agree to steps and you don't have to do that. The other person doesn't, because understanding is powerful enough. Now, once my understanding, like they understand me and where I'm coming from and how their words or actions impacted me, it gets flipped. Now we can talk about your ignorance. Now we can talk about your reasons. Now we can talk about where you're coming from. And it's my job to AU, acknowledge, understand, and if there is an action, I'll take an action, right? Maybe it's, if this happens again, I will understand that this is where you're really coming from. Generally in my world, that doesn't happen. If there are issues where I'm feeling misunderstood, my feelings are hurt, there is a disconnection, my action is generally not going to be that the next time this comes up, I'm going to think about your perspective and how you feel and what you mean. No, if you want me to receive what you mean and how you feel, then you better fucking bring that to the table. That is your own self-awareness and your own emotional intelligence. It is not my job to edit that and how I feel on my side because you don't know how to rise the fuck up in your power. Okay, so in my world, that wouldn't be an action that I take. Maybe I'll be more calm and understanding in that way, but I'm still going to expect you to rise the fuck up and make adjustments because we're not going to keep having this same issue because you think your reasons and excuses overtake the way that I feel. Is this making sense? Yes? If it's not, ask your question. So shout out yes in the comments if this is making sense. Now back into making yourself small, right? If you're just joining us, this session is all about, and it is for you, if you're the type of person who suppresses your emotions because you feel that if you speak up, it's going to cause conflict. And instead, you just step back, you make yourself small, you don't say anything, right? And then over time, it becomes a big pressure. Hey, Ken. Right? And then it becomes a big pressure. And then you get in the shower, you cry it out. It releases the pressure like a pressure cooker. You feel like, okay, I'm good. You're not, because underneath there, that's still boiling. It's still brewing. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how you end up having a huge blow up. There's all, emotional breakdown. Oh, I'm depressed. I need to get on antidepressants. I have all this anxiety. Yeah, you built that anxiety by keeping your fucking mouth shut. And that's why in my world, it's all about speaking up. Okay. It's all about how can you communicate what it is that you need to communicate without shrinking down, without making yourself small, without stepping back, and ultimately without disrespecting the other person, right? That's the other goal. So what do you do? First of all, you have to hold firm. So your feelings get hurt. It isn't, we're going back to this. Who gives a fuck about this? It isn't about choosing battles. Your feelings get hurt. Your job is to express. This is not the stop between your feelings getting hurt and you expressing. This is what women do. They say, my feelings are hurt, that upset me, blah, 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 right? And then go, is that really worth me saying something? I really need to choose my battles. If you ask people who've been married 50, 60 years, how'd you make it? They'll say communication, choose your battles. Fuck that. I say speaking up and expressing how you feel and understanding one another. Okay? It's completely different. It's not a battle. And you get to facilitate whether or not it is a battle, right? So, first thing, okay, that's the very first thing. So, I'm going to put this in the chat and I want you guys to write that. So, number one, speak up. Write that down. I want everybody to shout that out in the comments. Number one is speak up. Express yourself in your feelings. What happened? How did it impact you? What's going on? Even if it's not theirs to hold, even if it's a trigger from a past relationship, a past friend, if your kid took an action now that like triggered you because they've ran away in the past, I've lived that, right? I'm going to go to my kid and say, listen, that you just did fucking triggered the shit out of me. My entire body is vibrating. I feel fucking anxious as hell. I need you to understand that you can't do that. Okay? So Ronan and I have a beautiful relationship. And so if I bring that to him, he would and has in the past said, oh, mama, I didn't realize that me doing that would impact you that way. Okay. That is an I didn't realize ignorant, but he knows me well enough to know that that is not a period. He will say, what can I do? Is there something that I can do to bring you some peace that that's not what I'm going to do with my next actions? Or I know this was the day that I ran away last year and we've had a good year, but what can I do to show you that I'm not going to do this again? Right? That's again, understanding where I'm coming from. That's some action that he can take. You know, or if I don't even speak up, he could see it in my face. I can see that what I just said or what I just did really impacted you, Mom. I see your entire face change. Validation. Are you okay? Understanding. What can I do? Understanding / action. What is it that I actually, what is it about what I did that caused you to feel that way? So in this instance, it was his past action that's triggering a current action, but he's not actually living that way. But that could be the same way if it was somebody else. In this instance, that's Ronan's to own because he created that trigger in me based off of his fucking shitty actions, right? That's my teenager. Well, he's 18 now, right? But that's him. If it is your ex did this bullshit to you, abused you, and your current ex gets upset and raises his voice, okay? Most women believe that it's his job to not raise his voice because he knows what you've been through. It is not. It is not his job to not raise his voice because he knows what you've been through. It is your job to feel your feelings, speak up. So how this would go would be trigger, right? Fuck, like what he just said triggered the fuck out of me. You realize it doesn't come from him. Hopefully that's self-awareness. That's a whole other session, right? Hopefully you realize it doesn't come from him. So what you do is you go back and you say, listen, when you raise your voice like that, I shut the fuck down. Like I shut all the way down. Now, you're not telling him not to raise his voice. You're not telling him that it's his ownership because you're going to say, because my blah, blah, blah did that. This is where self-awareness comes in and emotional intelligence comes in. I'm not asking you to fix that because it's my job to clear my own triggers, to heal what has happened and what I've been through. But I'm just letting you know that when you take that action, I shut down. Now he can come in and say, that makes so much sense now that when we're in a disruption or a disconnection, he'll probably call it a fight, an argument, a disagreement, that it seems like you don't care. Okay. That makes so much more sense now. And I understand that by me raising my voice, it does that. Validation. What can we do to where I feel like you're listening, so I'm not raising my voice and you don't shut down, right? That's an understanding, but almost like a compromise and a completeness. That takes self-awareness and emotional intelligence on his part as well. But you've got to hold that space and that container where you don't let the partner or the other person go down things. Well, you da-da-da-da. No, we're going to talk about whatever you want to bring to the table in just a moment. Right now, we're talking about the action that you just took that caused these feelings. We will get to you in a moment, but because you just took those actions and I brought it to the table first, I would really like to get on the same page with this. And then we'll shift to, your side of it and where you're at, right? You have to hold that space. So when we talk about suppressing your emotions because you're worried or you don't like conflict and you want to avoid that conflict, so you don't speak up. It's about learning how to speak up and hold the space for what needs to happen. And that's number 2, right? Hold the space for healing. And that's for both of you, because men, I always say this, I tell the men in my life they're stupid to their face. I feel like men are really stupid. And what I mean by that is you can tell them the same thing 150 times and they'll still do the same fucking action, right? So the change has to come in how you show up to get that shift to happen. If you're willing to repeat yourself 1,000 times, he is willing to take that action 1,000 times. If you are willing to basically speak up and beg them to adjust, they are willing to allow you to do that, even if they're not going to make that change. It's when you shift and hold that space for healing. And that's for both of you. The healing of understanding each other, the healing of coming to the same page, the healing of, this is how I feel based on your actions. And the reason why you took those actions does not impact the way that I feel. So yes, throw that down in the comment. Hold space for healing. And you've got to hold that space. This is a lot of the work that we do in my Soul Shift Healing membership, is teaching you how to do this, teaching you how to speak up, teaching you how to hold that space, and teaching you, number 3. So if you guys want to throw this down in the comments, hold space for healing, right? So that's number 2. And number 3, grow forward in connection and understanding. So number 3 is grow forward in connection and understanding, right? Not move forward, not just not give a fuck. Okay, it happened. I've said what I need to say. They said what they needed to say, and now we're moving forward. It's not a move forward. It's a grow forward in connection and understanding. Could that issue come up again? Yes. We come back to this moment and we say, hey, remember, let's say it's, again, they did it to you. You come back in this moment, you say, listen, we talked about this. We talked about that when you fill in the blank, it does this. And we decided that we were going to work together. This is our prime opportunity to do that. Or we've been pretty lazy about it, and here we are again, right? Hold space for that healing. That's number 2, right? But you've still got to grow forward in that connection and understanding. I'm not saying that when you step forward the first time and do this, like it's going to be perfect. What I am saying that is you follow these steps by speaking up, holding that space for healing. And what holding that space for healing means is, do not allow it to come out of this container. This means, well, you no. Right now we're talking about the fact that this just happened. Right now, I need you to understand where I'm coming from, how this impacts me, and how I feel. And then if you want to talk about the things that I've done, then we can move to that. But right now, we're going to talk about this because your recent actions just caused this. And I just brought this to you. If I bring it to you first, your job is to validate and understand where I'm coming from, number 1. And then from there, I'll validate and understand where you're coming from. If it was your issue first and you brought it to me, then my job would be to validate and understand you first. And then for you to validate and understand me. So if anytime in the future there's an issue and you want to bring it to me, then yes, I show up first for you. But I brought this issue to you. Teach them. Okay? Teach them as you speak up. So that might be like a number 1A. Teach them what's going on here because you guys haven't been operating like this together. What you've been doing is if you ever speak up, then they can come back, and then you can come back, and then you can blah, 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 and this cyclic destruction, which is another podcast episode. Or if you do it this way, it's holding that space, it's holding that container. And right now, this container is your actions impacted me this way. Your words impacted me this way. And it's imperative that you understand your words and actions and what they did. And we get on the same page with this because I don't want this part of our relationship in the future. If you have changed your partner and the people in your life to not give a fuck about your feelings in this cyclic battle, this is going to be hard, right? This is going to take a little time to untrain this behavior. But if you trust me and you do this work, you can really create such a more peaceful environment of communication. All right. So I do want to share really quick. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Power Coach Alicia, soul healer, author, and speaker. I specialize in helping women go from burnout to recharged in 30 days or less. So If you have not taken my free quiz that is your secret weapon against burnout, people pleasing, and self-sabotage, you definitely want to type quiz in the comments and get this link. This link is like the first steps. Where are you at on your soul healing journey? Where do you need to focus? What's going on? So once you take that quiz, we get the results, and then we jump on a free quiz review soul healing session. And I actually build out an entire map of steps to take, the order to take them in, the process to do. It's my 5-step clear method. It is fucking phenomenal. It is all for free, right? Because to me, if I can show up and do this for you and you can get the groundwork and how to really step into your power, learn to speak up, learn to hold that space and to grow with understanding and connection, it'll change every fucking relationship you have. And my job is to change lives, right? So whether or not you pay me, you're getting massive value out of this session. All you need to do is shout out quiz in the comments. Coming up tomorrow is the Q2 Clean and Clear Retreat, which is all about cleaning and clearing anything that no longer serves you. It's $47 right now. It'll be $333 tomorrow. It is a phenomenal retreat. We map out your next 90 days, what is going on, what needs to be put there, where you need to focus. All of that stuff is going down in this retreat, and you have lifetime access to the replay. All you need to do is type clear in the comments, and I'll make sure that you have that link. So in summary of today's session, okay, what we talked about is how to stop making yourself small to keep the peace. Okay. The reason why you're doing it is you think that by avoiding these conversations, it's stopping disconnection in those relationships. But the truth is, avoidance creates disconnection. Okay. And the compound of not speaking up creates the destruction of your soul. The choose your battles idea is you're looking at it saying, choosing my battles of whether or not I speak up at all. And I'm saying you always speak up. The difference is, how strong are you going to hold your ground? How big of a boundary is this? Are you willing to die on that mountain for yourself and your belief systems? That is the choose your battle. If you're not willing to die on that mountain, then don't make it a battle, but you always speak up. Always. All right. So your steps are to, number one, speak up. Always. Hold space for that healing by bringing the conversation back, bringing it back, and explaining to them what the order of this conversation is. I brought you the issue. Your job is to validate and understand me first. If you bring me the issue, I will validate and understand you first, and then we flip-flop. Okay? That's how that goes. Number 3, grow forward in connection and understanding. Continue to do this. Continue to do the work. Continue to have the conversations and continue to get stronger and stronger as you go. So I'd love for you to go right to the Soul Healing Sanctuary Facebook group. Some of you guys are watching this right inside the group. For those of you that are watching this in the group, do a separate post here and tell me what was your number one takeaway. For everybody else, if you are not inside the group, you're going to go to community.thesoulhealingzone.com. I don't know why there's random capitals in there. That's what I get for typing fast. Community.thesoulhealingzone.com, and you can join the group. And I want you to post your number one takeaway. What really connected with you? I want to know. I'm going to read each and every one of your takeaways. I'm going to reply to each of your takeaways. And it really just helps other people to show up to these lives and these sessions as well. So the community.thesoulhealingzone.com, post your number one takeaway. If you're watching this right in the group, jump off of this live and then post your number one takeaway for me. I would greatly appreciate it. Most of the time I'm here on Mondays. Sometimes I do Mondays and Tuesdays. I'll do a live. It just depends on what's on my mind and what I want to share. Remember to say yes to yourself more than you say yes to other people. It is always about progress, not perfection. And you must give yourself way more grace than you give everyone else, because the world needs who you were made to be. So show up every single fucking day as the badass you are and slay. I'm Power Coach Alicia, and we'll see you next time. Bye.